You're listening to the Confidence Podcast, your one-stop shop for motivation, inspiration, and confidence to help you boldly take action on your dreams. I'm your host, Trish Blackwell, internationally recognized confidence coach and founder of the College of Confidence, and I teach women how to take their thoughts captive, how to step out of the shadows of self-doubt, and how to courageously step into their purpose with confidence. It's time to train your thoughts. Let's get started. Hey guys, it's Trish Blackwell, your host of the Confidence Podcast, and you are listening to episode number 456. This is a heavy one. This is a good one. This is one we all need. What to do when there's no end in sight. And guys, overwhelm, whether it's in your personal life, your professional life, however it is manifesting right now, when you get to a place where you feel like there's no end in sight, it never stops, nothing gives. When are you going to catch a break? When does the bad news stop? When does the stress get easier? When does the email inbox ever get zeroed out? Sometimes it feels really intense, and sometimes it's death by a thousand cuts, but it can, whatever that overwhelm is doing, it can derail your confidence, drown you in self-doubt, and leave you flailing for hope and purpose. In this coaching today here on the podcast, you're going to learn what to do when there's no end in sight. I've got some really good techniques and strategies to share with you. You'll learn how to stay filled with faith, how to have peace in your confidence, and how to think the right thoughts that will fill you with power and perseverance. More specifically, we're going to be talking about overwhelm. So no end in sight. When you feel that phrase come over your body, let's put another one-word feeling to it. It's overwhelm. And so we're going to talk about overwhelm and what to do when you feel burdened by it. We're going to talk about how to have hope when there feels like there is no end in sight, like how to fight for hope. And then the belief, thoughts, and self-talk that will help you neutralize overwhelm. I've actually written out, about a dozen statements that you can use to really cut through the overwhelm. We always want to neutralize that heavy, very charged feeling so that we can manage it. When overwhelm, what overwhelm does is it's a snowball effect that takes all these other negative feelings up with it. And again, you can do this in the most dire of contexts. I've experienced this with medical diagnoses and family drama, and I've also experienced this type of overwhelm in the workplace or in a workout. I can remember swim practices when I was training pretty intensely, and I would get a workout or a set from a coach, and I would just be overwhelmed by it. And the start of that thought triggered a whole sequence of the next hour being about 10 times more terrible and challenging than it needed to be. So I can't wait to dive into this. Before we do, I want to highlight our review of the week. It's from Divine Providence, and she says, it says Divine Providence 1 to Bree. And she says this: inspired scripture tells us that one true God has predetermined every moment of suffering and joy, but it's always incredible when you can step back and say, oh, I see why you did that there. It's funny to me how fast I found Trish once I took a tiny step towards growth. God really does open the door when you knock. Trish tackles the real things that go into our heads in such an authentic way, but then she brings it back to Christ. It's rare and refreshing to find a coaching podcast that is more than what it seems. I am so grateful for you, Trish, and I can't wait to read your new book. And 1, 2, Bree, thank you. And you're right, when you knock, the door does open. I really believe when you pursue growth, God provides teachers and friends and support and books and all of the things. So I love what you said here, Bree, that it's rare and refreshing to find a coaching podcast that is more than what it seems. So thank you guys. These reviews are tremendous blessing to me. They are such great feedback and encouragement for me and my soul, but also to help us grow our audience, get more people to get the opportunity to be coached for free through this podcast, to be encouraged, to let their joy be stirred up, their dreams be awakened again, for them to remember that they are called, they are confident, they are capable, and they have so much potential buried within, and that the Confidence Podcast is a place to go to stir that potential, to water it, to grow it, and to keep moving it forward every day. And just one more quick announcement before we dive into overwhelm. So on that note, if you haven't written a review, please go to iTunes, do that. If you don't listen on Apple device, you can still go into iTunes on your on any desktop. A quick announcement, guys. This is very unusual. This happens about 3-4 times a year. I have an upcoming opening in my private coaching practice. That means my wait list is going to be opening up, and I'm going to be taking consultations with people. We only do this every couple times a year. So if the fall is the time of year when you've been looking for a change and you've thought about coaching for a couple months now, and your schedule is going to get back to something that's more consistent because the kids are going back to school, or you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired and thinking about your goals and trying to do it on your own, and you're ready to really do the thought change, the brain work, the self-concept work to change how you see yourself so that you can change how you show up for yourself, then go fill out an application on my website at trishblackwell.com/coaching. All right, let's do it to it, y'all. Let's talk about overwhelm. Overwhelm, what to do when you're burdened by it. First and foremost, I want you to know that overwhelm, it is a feeling. I think sometimes we believe it's a situation. We think it's a circumstance. We think this is overwhelming. Life is overwhelming. Work is overwhelming. So we're putting adjectives to situations as if they're completely fact. But I want to propose to you today that that's just a thought, that is just an interpretation. Now, overwhelm is a feeling. I feel overwhelmed. Now, our thoughts are what drive our feelings. So every feeling I feel comes from a place that I've thought. So if I'm thinking it's too much for me to handle, I then feel overwhelmed. And if you might be like, no, Trish, it's a feeling. I'm not thinking overwhelming thoughts. I'm feeling them. I want to remind you that all our feelings are based on the thoughts that we're thinking. So the best example I love to use, because I adore my husband. If you guys follow me on Instagram, Trish_Blackwell, I think he's the most handsome thing in the world. I adore this man. He is brilliant. I love him. So he's a great example for me to pick on. So if Brandon, the love of my life, leaves his socks all over the house, or throws a towel by the hamper but not in it, or doesn't make the bed if he's the last one out of bed, and then leaves his coffee mug in his office versus in the sink, I can walk through the house and start thinking, ugh, come on, dude. Like, am I the only one who cleans up around here? And I can start doing that narrative that's going to start going. And then he also he didn't put the trash bag back. I start finding and thinking about all the things that he's doing wrong. And he will wake up and come downstairs and I'll be like, ugh. And I'm feeling irritated by him. You can say, well, you're irritated because of the socks. No, I'm only irritated because of the thoughts that I had about the sock and the coffee mug. And therefore, I just want to show you my thoughts created a feeling of irritation, disconnection, entitlement, resentment towards him. In the same way, I could look at that socks. I could look at the sock and I could look at the mug and go, oh my gosh, my husband is amazing. He played with the kids all night he did an hour and a half bedtime, making up these magical stories, acting them out. You know what? I don't blame him. That sock, he probably was playing basketball with Baker, trying to get socks into the hamper. It didn't come out. What a guy. Now all of a sudden I feel loving towards him. I feel attracted to him. I feel blessed to have him as my father's children. Same sock, different thought, different feeling. So I hope that example helps you understand that truly a thought drives a feeling. So overwhelm is a feeling, and it's a feeling we choose because it's a thought that we have chosen. If overwhelm is brought on by our thoughts. So I used to actually think I'm overwhelmed. I just can't help it. There's just too much to do. There's just too many things going wrong. I'm just too far behind. I'm just not enough, right? And that those thoughts and that helplessness, the helpless victim statement that I say when I say, I just can't help it, perpetuates the overwhelm. Or sometimes I would say, well, I just don't see an end to this. There's no end in sight. But here's the thing. One thing to consider. And when you find yourself saying there's no end in sight, is, do you really need to see an end in sight to know that there's an end? Because all things do end. Everything has a season, a lifetime. It's a beautiful thing that we can even look at ourselves in our, well, it depends on what climate you live in, but here in Virginia, we have 4 seasons. And there's an end to each season. There's an end to each life cycle of a plant. And it's a reminder that even when we can't see the end coming, there is an end. And so sometimes it's an opportunity, an invitation to faith when you feel like there's no end in sight, to also just very neutrally self-coach and talk back to your brain. Your brain's trying to help you out. Your brain is panicking, trying to tell you there's a problem. We have the opportunity here when you're feeling thoughts that are feeling overwhelm caused by thoughts that are thinking and focusing on the overwhelm. Their opportunity to have a conversation with your brain and say back to your brain, you know what? I don't need to see the end to know that it's there. Thanks, brain. Thanks for doing your job, but I'm good. Because that's really what we can do. We can just, hey, brain, you're doing a good job. Thanks. But nothing's gone wrong here. Yeah, and here's the deal. I like knowing there's an end, but when my mind plays games on me and says, oh, you need proof, like, are you sure it's going to end? I have to reframe it as an invitation to expand my faith and my ability to callous and numb my mind to bounce back from my future thinking, like that projection. I'm like bouncing into the future and instead come back and stay in the present moment. Because being overwhelmed feels like being flooded. It's an overload on the nervous system and the brain, which starts looking at everything, and you start taking in more information that you can process. And what it does is it creates exhaustion, mental fatigue, and helplessness. A person who feels overwhelmed, or you're thinking thoughts that it's too much, you just can't keep up, you're not sure how you're going to keep going, you're already giving yourself a handicap in your emotional and mental energy, let alone your physical. And so what's interesting to notice if you find yourself thinking thoughts of overwhelm, and therefore feeling overwhelmed, it often happens because we've kept going without listening to ourselves. So we have to learn how to be friends to ourselves, and we do that by slowing down, by asking for help, or by creating better habits and boundaries. But we end up missing the signals that our body or our schedule has had enough, and so we push. Now, this is not always. Sometimes you might find yourself in a place when there's no end in sight because of a medical just season of your life for your family that's outrageously traumatic. That's very different. But a lot of times we find ourselves but there are still things we can neutralize the overwhelm in that. But when a lot of times the overwhelm from work, the overwhelm from schedule, the overwhelm from feeling intimidated by your own goal and feeling like discouragement because you don't think you'll ever get there because it seems too far away, that is all because you're not managing your mind. That is all because you're not listening to your body saying, I'm tired. Hey, maybe I should sleep instead of watching more TV. Hey, I don't have to be a machine and do this all on my own. So we miss the signals. Our body and our brains are giving us signals, and we have to learn to be kind. And there's all kinds of no end in sight feelings. We've already talked about a couple, but there's financial seasons of struggle. There's sickness and that string of never-ending bad news. There's weight loss or goals that seem to take a long time, or getting out of debt, feeling stuck perhaps in a dead-end place of your life. Anxiety and depression, for me, that was there's no end in sight. I thought there was no end in sight to my body dysmorphia, that I would forever hate looking at myself in the mirror, that I would forever feel uncomfortable in my body, that I would forever walk with my head down in shame internally, right? But caffeinate the heck out of myself so I would come off bubbly and happy. I thought there was no end in sight. I thought there was no end in sight to my mind being a hot mess. Again, this is why I love coaching. You guys, coaching changed my life. God healed me through coaching, through therapy, through breaking the fear that there's an end in sight. Because what is overwhelm? It's actually fear. It's fear that whatever that suffering you're feeling will never end. And I got to tell you, yes, we have suffering in this world. We have pain. We have struggle. But there is also goodness. There is also healing. There are also miracles. And we have to fight to hold on to that. There is that the belief that when you can't see it, the goodness is there. There no end in sight feeling can come from work projects, your email inbox, your parents' expectations, or the expectations of the world for you to keep achieving. And I want you to know this: what you think on will multiply. So if you dwell on bad news, you're going to feel the weight of it even more. But if you dwell on the hope within the bad, you'll see pockets of peace and strength. It's funny, in my newest book, Straighten Your Crown, which, by the way, releases September 10th. And I hope I don't know if you know this, but the pre-order process of a book is what helps it be successful and reach more people who don't yet know about that author. So the way it works right now on Amazon is, if a new book has 1,000 pre-orders, when the book gets released that day, all 1,000 pre-orders go through as if they got bought on that one day, that launch day. And what that tells Amazon is, ooh, people like this. Let me suggest this to other people who don't yet know who this person is. And so that's why I'm in advance asking you guys for those pre-orders, because it's going to help us just reach more people with this encouraging word of and how to reframe your mind and know that you matter. That's my new book, Straighten Your Crown, which you can go to Amazon and look it up, or just go to trishblackwell.com/book. I've got all the info about it there. But essentially it's a book on how to know you matter, how to believe you're loved, and how to walk forward with joy every day. So that in the book, though, the reason I brought it up is in the book, one of my favorite chapters is talking about when everything seems to be going wrong. We have the power of our thoughts, the power of our brain to shift our perspective and actually not just go, okay, I'm going to look for the good, because that doesn't sound exciting. Like, yeah, of course, you've always said, make lemonade with lemons. But what if and that kind of sounds fun. Let's be honest, I like lemonade. But what if it's an adventure? When everything's going wrong, make it an adventure. Make it a puzzle. Get curious, get excited about what you can find that is going right. Because if you look for that, if you find it, you dwell on the adventure of finding the hope within the bad, finding the good in the fogginess, then you will see pockets of peace and strength that will get you through. Now, I have a few mental techniques that will help you in this process. One is a brain dump. When you are feeling overwhelmed, one of my favorite things to coach my students in the College of Confidence is to do a brain dump. It's just to unload, and you write, what is the feeling I'm feeling at the top of your paper? And do a thought download, do a brain dump, write everything you're thinking about, sort of a stream of consciousness. I'm feeling this because of this, and then of this, and then. And what we want to do is we want to peel back all those onion layers and find out what is it that you're actually afraid of. Most of our feelings that cause the overwhelm come from a place of fear. So that's a brain dump. You can also do a toxic thought reframe, which is my favorite journaling process. If you don't know how to do the reframing of your thoughts through journaling, that is what I teach you for free. Go to trishblackwell.com/freedom journal, trishblackwell.com/freedom journal. You can get that for free. And you can see 7 days of videos. I'll teach you how to do it. But essentially, the crux of it is you write your toxic thought. What is the thought? I'm afraid this is never going to end. Like, I want you to write your thought when you're doing a thought reframe. I want you to write it in a way that Ellie, my 6-year-old, would understand. It's like my 6-year-old, like, I'm feeling scared because the doctor might say this, and that would mean that I will have to feel this emotion, and I'm afraid of that. Like, we're going to take all the complication, all of the emotional charge, and put it into a first grader's language. And then what you do is then you compassionately respond to that. You write the toxic thought and then the truth. And how would a friend respond to it? What would God say to that? What would Trish, if I read that thought and I was going to be a voice of encouragement to you, how would I reply to that? Another is being in a community for support, like the College of Confidence. It's amazing the difference of having people around you. who are cheering you on. I'm going to share with you other mental techniques that can help in overwhelm are using self-affirming coaching phrases, and we're going to get to those shortly in a couple minutes here in the episode. But also one other technique I wanted to teach you today is the trampoline method. Now, I love this. This is for those scenarios when your brain starts getting ahead of itself. When you start thinking too far in the future, if your what ifs are perpetuating, what if they don't like that I do the job on this project, and then they find out that they probably shouldn't have hired me because I was underqualified, and then they fire me, and I lose my job, and then then I lose my job and I can't eat, and then I have to live in a cardboard box, and everybody thinks I'm a disgrace, right? Or trampoline method of what if they diagnose me with this, and like, you know where your brain's going. See, when your brain is jumping to the future and what ifs, what I want you to do is pretend that you have a big old trampoline and it's turned up on its side. So the trampoline is on its side. And your thought, when it jumps out to the future, it literally bounces back. And so you have to stay in the present. This is a technique that can be used for athletics when you're racing. If you want to stay present in the race and not start overthinking your pace or overthinking the finish line, the trampoline method will help bounce that thought right back. But it's effective. It's a good method to imagine when you start spiraling in overwhelm in the future and you're like, yeah, but I can't help it. I just, how do I get back to the present? Pretend there's a trampoline. See if that will help your brain bounce back to say, what matters is right now. How do I stay present? How do I simplify? And how do I live this moment right now well? Because when you do that, we're starting to cut through the power of the overwhelm. The overwhelm, you're starting to realize it's just a feeling. And the feeling passes. And when I realized the feeling doesn't have the power over me, but rather I have power over the feeling because I can start to change my thoughts. Now, it doesn't mean I just get to push the feeling away. I still have to feel the feeling. But I can realize and recognize that feeling came from my thoughts, and my thoughts were bouncing too far in the future. Now that I've brought them back, the overwhelm might still be there. There's still pain there, but it's not as suffocating. I want you to have more confidence and joy than you've ever had before. Because when you have confidence, you have more options in life. The option to say no to self-doubt, the option to choose your thoughts, the option to achieve anything you want. More confidence, more options. And I want you to have the unlimited options found in a life of joy and abundance. And that's why I wrote my newest book, Straighten Your Crown, rediscovering that you are seen, you matter, and the King delights in you. I want you to know what it feels like to be enough. I want you to know what life feels like without anxiety, without stress, and without self-doubt. I want you to step fully into being God's daughter. And that is why I wrote this book for you. It's time to say goodbye to your old thinking and start believing that God doesn't just love you, He delights in you. You are royalty, a co-heir to Christ with all of God's riches. It's time to come alive and shine. Pre-order the book now on Amazon or go to trishblackwell.com/book and get up to $500 worth of bonuses and gifts for pre-ordering and supporting this book as it launches. Your support in pre-ordering the book will help the book reach more people and change more lives. Go to trishblackwell.com/book to get started. Okay, so how do we have hope when there feels like there's no end in sight? And I want to go back to it feels like it. There's no way for us to know anything in the future. And so we often rely on our feeling. And the feeling, as we already proved with my example with Brandon, can be so fleeting, can be so manipulated. So here's where we need to go. We need to go to the truth. We know that everything does end. Now, we can't see everything. We don't get to understand everything on this side of heaven. But that can give us perspective. We can keep perspective, and the overwhelm, it becomes suffocating and crushing when you feel like you're Sisyphus pushing this boulder up the hill to roll back on you. But when you realize that the overwhelm can be broken down and weakened, and the holes get put into it, when you just say, how do I get through the hour today with good perspective? How can I fight for my joy and fight for hope right now? How can I remind myself today that I've got this, that God's on my side, that I don't have to do this on my own. And reminder, when everything is going wrong, find adventure and looking for what is going right. You can do this by getting curious about how and where overwhelm shows up. I think for me, it's been an interesting growth experience of looking at reframing different areas where it pokes its ugly head. And I have actually really been working on overwhelm because being somebody with naturally high anxiety, overwhelm was sort of a go-to emotion for me, very much so. Overwhelm when I was doing work, overwhelm, and my response to overwhelm was just undersleep. I just stopped taking care of myself. I would overproduce. So my overwhelm drove me to overperformance. And that's sustainable to a certain extent. And then you crash. And when you crash hard. But what I'm suggesting to you is that you don't have to continue a cycle like that. But for me, so even though I've been working on it very intentionally, very mindfully the last 5 years, I still have ways that it sneaks up on me. And it's great, rather than be discouraged of like, oh, here I am. Why is my brain doing this again? Instead, I say, oh, here's my brain doing that thing it does again. Because my neural pathways, the default neural pathways that I trained it to think of when it came to fear and overwhelm and being consumed by how big something felt and how small I felt, and I forgot how big God was. Oh, those pathways, oh, there's still some grooves there. Okay, I'm not disappointed. I'm not discouraged when I find my thoughts going back there. I just correct them. So for me, the most consistent one this happens with, guys, is when I get sick. Like my brain, if I get sick, and I feel like really sick. Like when I have sick and a cold or a little flu, no problem. But if I'm sick or I have a headache or stomach ache or something that actually has me in bed, it's so funny. My husband, like, he chuckles every time because I'm like, babe, can you promise me it's not going to last forever? Like, is this going to end? I feel like it's never going to end. Like, I go to this like crazy panic mode and I think I'll be sick forever. And it's so interesting. And when I broke my foot just recently, and I was like, okay, like I had to fight that inclination for me to go, ugh, you're never going to be able to run again. And I just go, okay, not true. I think some of the power in talking back to yourself comes in being like, yeah, I don't think so. Because your brain is a sleazy salesman constantly trying to be like, yeah, but what if? And we have the power and the authority to talk back to ourselves and go, yeah, actually, I think I'm going to be okay. Actually, I'm more capable than I probably am giving myself credit for. Actually, this isn't so bad. Why don't I just put a 20-minute timer on this and clear out my inbox, right? Watch out for language that your brain likes to indulge in. Phrases like, it's just too much, it will never end, or I'll never be able to figure this out, or I'll never be able to catch up. I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do this. I just can't cope. I should be able to handle this, but I just can't. How about everyone else seems okay with this stress, but something's wrong with me? Or I'm not good enough. I should be achieving more. Or I'm not organized enough. I must be lazy. What's wrong with me? If I can't keep up, they'll know I don't belong here. Why can't I do this? I can't seem to focus as well as others, and I keep forgetting things. I know I should be doing more, but I can't be bothered to do anything. What's the point? Nothing matters. That's indulgent language. That's your brain, the salesman of the brain, trying to be like, yeah, life is hard. Yes. Like selling you on negativity. And guys, I have a new video that's going to be being released on my YouTube channel on how to curate and cultivate a positive mindset. So go check me out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/trishblackwell. But the brain is essentially selling you on negativity, selling you on self-pity, selling you on, yes, it's too much for you. Yes, you're right. There is no end in sight. Yes, it's selling you on helplessness. And you don't have to buy it. You can say, no thanks. You're going to have these thoughts. It's not alarming and it's not a problem to have these thoughts. The choice comes in when you want to keep them and believe them, or you want to escort them along. So and a reminder, when you find that language indulging in itself, I want to remind you of a couple things here. You don't have to depend on your own strength. A lot of this is like, yeah, I can't do it. Okay. Who said you had to? Who said you had to do it by yourself? This superhero syndrome that we buy into from culture of like, we got to do it all and be it all and pretend we don't need help and it's all easy. It's not how God created us. Like we need connection. We need one another. We all have different strengths. So the arrogance and the pride and the self-sufficiency that we believe that we need to have is why we're so stinking exhausted. And sometimes there's this adage, is even especially in the faith culture of, oh, not God never gives you more than you can handle. And there's nowhere in the Bible that says that. It says, I actually believe that sometimes there is more than we can handle. Sometimes things are more than we can bear. And God allows that to invite us into leaning on him, on his dependable strength, on reminding us that we need him. We need others. He offers impenetrable peace and strength that never runs out, refreshment, nourishment, life for the day. He will carry you hour to hour, victory to victory. But it's also an invitation to reach out to others, to be in community and connection, because culture tells us to isolate, to be machines, to be martyrs, to do it all and be it all. And it's false ideation that's keeping us stressed, stuck, and feeling helpless. It's so funny, this word machine. I used to, in the gym, have people come up to me after a workout and be like, man, you're a machine. And I used to look at my work ethic of like, yep, I'm a machine. I just do it. And now I'm looking at that as a deep insult. I want to be a human because that's what God made me. Not a machine, not this unrelatable, unfeeling, I just got to do things because that's how I make myself important. No, I am important because of who I am, not because of what I do. And to allow that, I need to allow others in my life. So let's talk about some very specific self-talk statements that can help you neutralize overwhelm. These are belief statements. And just a reminder, the overwhelm isn't the problem. It's the thought behind the overwhelm. It's the fear that's packaged in the overwhelm. Our battle isn't against overwhelm. It is against fear. I'm going to say that again. Our battle's not against overwhelm. It's against fear. And I love the simplification of this because, like so much in life, it becomes a question of how you want to live your life in your heart. Do you want to live from a place of faith, or do you want to live from a place of fear? It's a forked road, and it leads you to two very different places. So here are some faith-based, well, not even like, I don't even mean religiously based, but like believing, faith-filled, hopeful, confident, neutralizing statements to give you some belief against the thoughts that are causing you to feel overwhelmed. Here are a few. I'm going to read them slowly, and I'm going to let you know they are all written out. This is by no means an exhaustive list. It's just a half a dozen or 10 or so. And these are written out in the show notes. You can always get the show notes by just going to my website. There's a podcast tab, or going to the website and writing trishblackwell.com/the podcast episode number, which this one is, let me remind myself, 456. So you can get these statements written out for yourself to type in a note to yourself, an email, or if you want to just handwrite them into your journal, I would recommend that. Go to trishblackwell.com/456. And here we go. I am more capable of anything, more than capable of anything I want to do. I am more than capable. I am more capable than I think I am. I don't have to do it all. I don't have to look like I have it all together. I'm allowed to be human. I thrive when I focus on my priorities and on what matters. And I let go of what doesn't matter. I am exactly where I need to be. I'm doing a good job. I will always have more work today. And I love the challenge of that. That's exciting that there will always be more to do. I release it as pressure and accept it as opportunity. I don't need to see the solution to believe that it's there. I don't need to see the outcome in order to hold strong to my faith that it will be good. I have hope in the midst of my pain because I walk with peace impenetrable. I choose to find the good in this. I choose to find the good in this. I don't absorb stress anymore. I'll notice this, but I'll also allow it to pass. I have access to some of the most intelligent medical professionals I will get answers, and I am not alone in this. I am not in a rush, and this is not a race. I'm doing better than I think I am. I hope those encourage you. Friend, again, this list, add to it, add to yours. Talk back to your thoughts. Tell your brain to work for you. Your brain gets to work for you, not against you, but we have to practice doing that. Of course, a place to do that is here on the Confidence Podcast, and to go even deeper in the College of Confidence, which is canceled at any time. So come give us a try. Go to collegeofconfidence.com. I have a quick announcement. I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show yet, but when you pre-order 3 copies of my newest book, you get an exclusive invite to my upcoming VIP Worthiness Workshop that is going to be held on September 22nd. On September 22nd, I'm teaching a live virtual workshop day where I'll teach you exactly how to walk in worthiness, how to feel worthy, like a confident daughter of the King. It's an experience grounded that I'm creating to ground your identity, to help you learn how to think with godly confidence, how to listen to the whispers of God in your life, and how to engage your faith bravely in how you live. This workshop experience will provide you with the tools to stand firm in your worth, and will teach you how to express the overflow of abundant love that flows through your life. To get an invitation to that workshop, all you need to do is get 3 pre-ordered copies. So buy 3 copies of my book, keep 1 for yourself, give 2 to friends. And then send your receipt to book@trishblackwell.com, and we'll send you all the info to the Walk in Worthiness workshop. And guys, for more info on that, go check it out. trishblackwell.com/book has all the details of all my freebies that I'm giving away with my book pre-orders. And by the way, you also get a free copy of the audiobook when you pre-order 1 copy. So go to trishblackwell.com/book to get started. Let's close out with the listener of the episode. It's Belinda Dennis, and she reached out on IG and just said, "Hey Trish, I've been listening to your podcast over the past week. I live in Australia and do lots of driving, so it's perfect. I also listen on my bike trainer during my workout. I love your positive inspiration. Anyways, just wanted to say thanks from Australia. You are awesome." Belinda, I want to go to Australia. And so it's delightful to me. It's delicious to hear that I am hanging out with you in your car as you're driving all over the country that I will eventually find myself in. So thank you for giving me a tour of where you go. You also might not know, but because I'm a triathlete and I've done Ironman, I do have a bike trainer. I got to tell you, it's my least favorite workout. So knowing that I'm hanging out with you while you do that makes me smile. So keep it up, guys. Please continue to reach out. Let me know how this show has impacted you. And if any episode ever truly, deeply moves you, my ask of you is this: share it with somebody else. Share it with somebody else. I want you to know you are capable of more than you think. And you can do anything. You can do hard things. You've got this. There's nothing that's too big for you because you don't have to do it on your own. Now go out there today. Go be more of who you are. Be you. Be free. Thanks for listening to the Confidence Podcast and allowing me to be your coach in your life. If you love the show, please let us know by leaving a review on iTunes. Are you encouraged by what you learned? Share this episode with a friend and let us know how the show is changing your life by connecting with us on social media, on Facebook at Trish Blackwell Coaching, or on Instagram at Trish_Blackwell. Ready to take what I teach and really take it to the next level? Join us today in the College of Confidence. The College of Confidence is a land of rejuvenation and refreshment, where you go to be recharged, revived, and refocused on what is possible in your life and your ability to impact the world. We open up the vaults and depths of who you are, challenging you, inspiring you, pushing you, and growing you to use absolutely every last ounce of gifting and talent God has breathed into you to the absolute fullest. And I will be there myself every step of the way, getting to know you and cheering you on. Get started at collegeofconfidence.com.